everybody, and welcome to another album review. Today we are taking a look at Winter's Gate by Insomnium. So Winter's Gate was released about a little over a year ago in September 2016. It's Insomnium's 7th studio album. And I'm going to slightly spoil the review already by saying that this is actually my favorite album pretty much of all time. And it is an album that I would consider to be probably the most perfect one that I've ever heard. And that's not something that's not a praise I give out lightly. This is an incredible album. And we're going to be talking about it a little bit more in depth today. So of course, as usual, we're going to start off with the good things, which I could just cut the video short right now and just say it's everything. But there are actually a couple minor problems that I have with it, so I'll get to those later. But for now, I'm going to go more in depth with the good about it. So first of all, the sound, and as usually the first thing I usually point out is the sound and the production and everything is pretty good. And I think there are a couple of very small things that sound a little off compared to some of their previous releases, which I'll get into later. But overall, everything sounds pretty good. Also, the instruments and the composition of this album are actually sung, because if you don't know, this is a 40-minute long song, which is awesome. It's really, really good. Each sort of it is one song, but it has sort of different sections to it. The digital versions are split up into 7 parts, and those are each sort of one section, I guess. Each section leads very smoothly into the next. There's a pretty good amount of variety as well, which is nice. It still has a consistent feeling through it and everything, but it has its like heavier points, its louder points, softer points. There's parts where it's really fast and intense. There's parts where it's really slow and it's just piano playing. Some clean singing vocals, a lot of death metal growling going on. It's all over the place, but it all flows really, really well. And I think that definitely works in its favor. A little bit more in depth about some of that. The instruments, like the guitars in this album, are really great, and guitars are one of my favorite things about melodic death metal, which is what this album is. And they're just really, really well done. There's a lot of really great melodies throughout the album, and it just sounds really great. The drums also are very well done. The vocals are also quite good. If you've listened to Insomnium's past albums, you pretty much know what to expect as far as the sound goes. Nilo, I think that's how his name is pronounced. I might be wrong, but it's a Finnish name, so I don't know. But his vocals, if you know what his vocal style is, where it's usually the sort of lower death metal growling, you pretty much know what to expect from this album. There's not a whole lot of variety in the growling, although there are some times where it is a lot lower and a bit higher, but it usually stays within the same sort of, I can't think of the word, but sort of the same sound, I guess, even though there is a little bit of variation. Then there are also clean vocals, which are done pretty well, and they're used very sparingly throughout the album. There's not a lot of them, but when they are there, they work very well. Another thing I really like about Winter's Gate is sort of in the background throughout the album, really, there's an orchestral backing track, which really does a lot to add to the album and makes it feel more awesome and more epic, which it already is just on its own, but with the orchestral element to it as well in the background makes it even more so. And it just works really well, and I really, really love it. Also, the lyrics in this album are quite good. They're very, I don't really know if I want to say different, because they do tell a story, and in that way they're different from lyrics in their past albums, but they still have, they still feel like Insomnium lyrics, just the way they're written and everything, and sort of the subject matter where it's a little more gloomy and not really that happy throughout the album. And it fits in very well with the rest of their lyrics, just in this case, it's telling a story, and the story itself, I can't really tell what it is all the time. I'd probably have to actually read the story, which I would like to do, but I can't find it anywhere. Although I think it did come with at least some versions of the physical CD. Of course, that's not something that I hugely care about, because when I listen to the album, I go to it for the music. But, yeah, the lyrics themselves are very well written and really good, which is something you would expect from the band. I guess I'm gonna wrap up the positives about the album, because even though I did mention all of those things, it's really, like I said, this is an album I consider to be almost perfect, so there's really no way I can articulate every single little thing I love about it. But those are some of the more big, general kind of things that stick out to me. As for negatives, there's really only two things, and one of them isn't even a negative, really, about the album. And then the second thing is more of a nitpick. It's something I'm pretty okay with. It's just something that I think was done a little better on their past albums. So the first thing is the Queen vocals. And while they are very, very good, the way they're put into the album seems a little weird. That it doesn't really blend together with the music for me as well as it has in past releases, along with the growling vocals, which is very blended together with the music, which is something especially that they've done since their album Across the Dark. Is just sort of a part of the music rather than its own thing, which I really like. I mean, they still sound good, it still works with the album, it's just a little weird coming from their last several albums where they've used Queen singing vocals, and coming to this one where they just seem like they were put into the album a little differently and stick out a little more. I'm not really sure exactly what it is, but something about that is a little jarring. It's not bad, I get used to it after a while, but it's something, like I said, I've gotten used to. It's more of a problem I had with it when I started listening to it, but now that I've listened to it over and over and over again, I've become used to it. So it's not really much of an issue, it's just something that I noticed, I guess. The other point I wanted to make is more of just something kind of funny that is a little annoying to me, and it's not even a problem with the album, and that is, sometimes I really want to listen to it, but if I'm gonna begin listening to it, I want to listen until the end, and sometimes I just don't have the time to do that, and it really annoys me. Again, it's not a bad thing about the album, but it's really a testament to how good this album is, because I start listening to it and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna listen to, like, sometimes I might be like, oh, I feel like listening to this particular part of the album for some reason, and then I end up listening to the rest. I can't always listen to as much of it as I would like, which is something that I guess where it is a 40-minute long song is to kind of be expected. You can't really take 3 minutes out of your time to listen to this song like you can with most others. So that's just another little thing that I thought I'd mention. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. So I've already said sort of my thoughts on it, so of course the recommendation is a definite yes. I think that it's not an album for everybody. Not everybody likes this sort of music, but if you do, I would highly recommend that you check this album out, because it is a masterpiece. And like I said about the whole it being perfect thing that I said earlier, that's not something that I say about just any album. This is truly deserving of that title, and it's just really great. And I hope you check it out, because if you don't, you are missing out big time on some really great music. Usually this is the part of the video where I talk about my 3 favorite songs from the album. Of course, since this is a 40-minute long song, I can't really do that. And initially I was just gonna do like my 3 favorite parts, since the digital version of the album is split up into 7 parts. But I couldn't choose 3. So I'm just gonna skip that part of the video, I guess. So, thanks for watching the review. Let me know what you think of the album in the comment section. Do you love it as much as I do? Do you have more problems with it than I do? Do you think it's Insomnium's best work? In my opinion, it is. Or do you think it is, like, horrible for some reason? Let me know in the comments, and if you have any ideas for other reviews that you would like me to do, leave those as well. For the month of December, I have videos all planned, but if you have any suggestions, then leave those down below. I will probably get around to reviewing at least most of Insomnium's discography at some point, because they are one of my favorite bands. So, if you really want to see a review for one of their albums, then leave that down below, but just know that in time I probably will review at least most of their discography. So that pretty much wraps up the video, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.